Hey there everybody, my name's Nathan Elson. Welcome back to the channel. Now, what do you do when you have a concept for a shoot? You put all the pieces in place to make it happen, and then at the last second, literally everything just kind of falls apart. That's exactly what happened to me on a recent shoot where I rented this studio. It's called the Gallery Studio, and it's got these beautiful large warehouse style windows that are facing west. So you get this beautiful, nice sunlight that ends up coming through these windows. And I had this concept to use the different shapes that were going to be cast on the walls and on the floors and things like that to just create some interesting images. Well, what ended up happening was come shoot day, we had the grayest, rainiest, cloudiest, windiest, grossest day, I think, that we will see all year. Not a single spot of hard light to be seen anywhere. And so what do you do in that instance? Do you pack everything up and just say, you know what? I guess this didn't work. We'll try again another day. Hell no. What you do is what we all do as photographers, and you problem solve the shit out of it. So over the course of this short video, I'm going to show you how I created these 3 looks with that hard, natural light vibe that I wanted. All right, first things first, I busted out one of my Aputure 600D lights with the 26-degree spot mount and used the built-in flags to shape the light onto my model. Now, I also added a CT gel onto the front of the spotlight. And for those of you that are not familiar with gels, CTO just stands for color temperature orange. And I used this gel because I wanted to mimic the look of that warm sunset light. Now, I had initially planned to just use the soft natural light coming in from the window as my fill, but it felt a little too contrasty, so I brought in another Aputure 600D with the Light Dome 150 attached. Now, this served 2 purposes. Number 1 is that it added more fill light and brought down that contrast. But number 2 is that it also added a catch light in the model's eyes to help bring a little bit more life into the final images. Now, once I had the lighting ratios dialed in, we had the opportunity to play with a variety of different poses, and this is what some of those final images ended up looking like. Okay, real quick, before we get into the final images, I want to talk to you about the sponsor of today's video, which is Reblum. And this software has blown my mind. Now, I'm going to show you how I use this software in Photoshop to edit one image, and then I'm going to bring you back into Capture One. I'm going to show you how I use it to batch process a bunch of images. Every image on this shoot was retouched using this software. Like I said, the results that I'm getting from it are absolutely stunning. So let's jump into Photoshop. I'll show you how it works. All right, here we are in Photoshop, and my model Liz has great skin. But the problem with this style of lighting is that it literally highlights any imperfection possible. So if I zoom in here, you can see just on her skin, you have little bumps, little shadows, different things like that that are highlighted by the hard light. Now, normally I would come in here and it would take me roughly 10 minutes. I would do some healing brush, some dodging and burning, just different things to smooth out the skin. But rather than do all of that, I'm just gonna push a button. So I'm gonna come up into my filter here and I'm gonna select Reblum and Reblum Retouch. Now, this software does one thing and it does it incredibly well, which is retouch skin. It is super straightforward and it's got 2 options. It's got natural and it's got fashion. So it automatically defaults to the natural setting. And if we zoom in here on Liz's face, this is the before, this is the after. And just that on its own looks incredible. It looks professionally done. It looks natural. You know, there's still all of your pores and everything like that in here. It didn't just go through and smooth everything out. It just, for being incredibly fast, the results are just insane. So we can also come up here into the fashion option. You click on that and I'll take you between the 2. But so this just smooths things out just that much more. So this is the fashion. This is the natural. So as you can see, it does a little bit extra dodging and burning and different things like that. Now, you also have the option to adjust the general application of the software. So how much it's actually applying. Also the texture. So if you look here, you know, there might be a couple little bumps here. If I dial my texture down, those become a little bit more prominent. So if there's any features on the face, freckles, different things like that, that this is essentially trying to hide, you can adjust the texture and bring those back. So if I bring that back up, I mean, that looks incredible. If I just do a before and an after, It's just crazy. Even into the arms and everything like that, it does this amazing dodging and burning just to smooth everything out. It looks insanely natural. Again, like I said, even on the fashion setting, you have all of your pores and everything here. It's crazy how good of a job it does. So if I come back out in the full screen here, if I do, we'll go before and after. It's so fast and it is so efficient, and it takes out so much work in the retouching department for me. And not only that, now I'm going to take you into Capture One. I'm going to show you how I use this to batch process images for even faster retouching. Okay, so here we are in Capture One. I'm going to show you how I quickly batch process these photos, and you can do the exact same thing in Lightroom. So I'm just going to grab these 6 images. I'm going to right click and I'm going to select Open with Reblum. Now, what this is going to do is open up the software, and any retouching that you do to any of these images, you can automatically apply across all of them and then save them to a specified folder. So it makes the entire process incredibly quick. So now that I've got this image here, I've got the retouching applied, I'm just going to click save. I'm going to tell it to save to a folder, and I'm just gonna let it do its thing. Now, like I said before, to do this style of retouching manually would take me roughly about 10 minutes per image. While with Reblum, it takes about 15 seconds per image, and I don't actually have to do anything. So I went from an hour of retouching down to a minute and 30 where I didn't actually have to do the work. So for any of you that do any type of retouching, I highly recommend giving Reblum a go. You can do a 7-day free trial. I will link it down in the description. Not only that, this software is not cloud-based. It is installed directly on your computer. So if you're out on location and you need to process some images, you can do so without needing the internet. I mean, it is incredibly efficient. It does what it's supposed to do incredibly well. Let me know down in the comments below if you do check this out and what you thought of it. But with that, let's get into the final images from the first section of this shoot. For this second look, I took a similar approach to the lighting setup with my spotlight mount acting as the main light. But again, it just felt a little bit too contrasty. So I brought in that Light Dome 150 to help lower the contrast and make the lighting feel a little bit more natural. Now for these images, I ditched the CTO gel because I didn't want the lighting coming from the spotlight mount to be quite as warm as the first set of images. And I also wanted the main light and the fill light to be a lot more evenly in terms of color temperature. We then just played with various shapes of light coming out of that spotlight mount. And again, when you tie it all together, this is what that ends up looking like. Now for this final set of images, I wanted it to feel like we actually had taken the backdrop and moved it outside on a nice, warm, sunny day. Now the way that I ended up doing this was I actually took the Aputure 600D with the Light Dome 150 and I made that my main light. But that light on its own seemed boring. It wasn't giving me the vibe that I was looking for. So I added the spotlight mount back in, but this time I actually added a gobo. I used this little tree looking gobo and I defocused the spotlight mount so that it was looking as if there was a tree just slightly off in the distance and sunlight was coming through those branches and landing on the model, just giving us some specular light, making it feel a lot more natural. And when you tie that all together, again, this is what it ends up looking like. All right, now before we sign off, I do just want to say that on June 15th and June 16th of 2024, I'm having 2 in-person lighting workshops here in Calgary, Alberta. The first one on June 15th is going to be all about studio lighting, and the second one on June 16th is all about on-location lighting. So if you're interested in attending either of those, I will have all of that information down in the description below. But with that being said, I have a ton of footage that I've shot from various behind the scenes kind of shoots that I have going on. So there's going to be a ton coming down the pipe. So make sure you buckle in, hit that subscribe button. I mean, there's This is fun. I got a lot for you coming very, very soon. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for being here. I appreciate you, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.